Show the audience. Hello, audience, and welcome. Inside each and every one of you is an organ that beats tirelessly day in and day out to keep each and every one of us alive. According to Ann Molansky, in an article for the Cleveland Clinic, it's about the size of two hands clasped together, beats 100,000 times per day, and pumps about 1.5 gallons per minute. Everyone's got one. It's the heart. Today I will tell you about the different structures of the heart and how they work together in an electrical pathway, its backups, and what can go wrong. There we go. In an article called "The Congenital Heart Defects: How the Heart Works," the CDC tells us there are 4 chambers in a heart. There are 2 upper chambers, the atria, and 2 lower chambers, the ventricles. There's also some valves that keep the blood from backflowing in the heart. Other terms we're going to need to know is artery leads blood away from the heart and veins lead blood towards the heart. Capillaries are where arteries and veins meet and blood exchange happens. As far as the atria and ventricles working together, the atria will prime the ventricles for squeezing blood elsewhere in the heart, whether that's the lungs or the rest of the body. And the ventricles, instead of just squeezing, they'll actually ring like a dish towel, as prescribed in a research paper for the Journal of Cardiovascular Development and Disease by Buckage et al. And on a microscopic level, cardiac tissue can be shown different from skeletal muscle tissue by these little dark bands here, called intercalculated discs. And what this does is it kind of glues the cardiac cells together so that they can all beat in unison, and that skeletal tissue does not have that. This is described aptly by Zhao and others in their research paper, Intercalculated Discs, Cellular Adhesion and Signaling in Heart Disease. And now we're going to touch on the electrical pathway of the heart. So there are different nodes in the heart that generate electricity on their own without input from the nervous system. One that we all start with is the sinoatrial node up here in the right atrium of the heart. This is going to pace at about a rate of 60 to 100 beats per minute. But if that fails, you can have other nodes within the atria firing. Then if that fails, we can go down to the atrioventricular node. This is going to actually keep the signal for a moment to allow the atria to squeeze blood into the ventricles to help prime it, so they're not all squeezing at once. But since it does do that, this pace is slower at a rate of about 40 to 60 beats per minute. And then if that fails, we also have some nodes and clusters of tissue in the ventricles that will pick up the pacing responsibilities. And that paces at about 20 to 40 beats per minute, which is a medical emergency. So if that happens, we're in complete heart block territory, and you're going to need a pacemaker. And all this is kind of described in a different Cleveland article called "The Heart Conduction: What It Is and How It Works." Now let's go on to some of the things that can go wrong. So heart attack is something that everybody knows, but perhaps does not love. A lot of people will confuse this with cardiac arrest, but they're actually different. Cardiac arrest is where the tissue itself is not squeezing with the electrical impulses. It's at a standstill. A heart attack is just when the heart is not getting adequate oxygen supply through the blood vessels. A heart attack is caused by blocked or constricted coronary arteries, which are the arteries that give the blood its blood supply. And that can be the blood clots, plaque, lots of different kinds of heart disease, and that can cause a heart attack. But this can be fixed with a cardiac stent. And finally, we've got some bad squiggles. These are other things that can go wrong. At the very top there, we've got what we call normal sinus rhythm. That's what your general heart rhythm is going to look like. Below that, we have something called ventricular tachycardia, otherwise known as VTach. This is where the bottom part of the heart is just squeezing rapidly. Think of like a toilet. If you're trying to flush it and it's not ready to flush again, it just kind of gives a really pitiful flush. That's kind of what your heart is doing there. You can, it can kill you. So it's a bad squiggle. Below that is ventricular fibrillation, arguably an even worse squiggle because it will kill you even faster, because with VTach you have some blood moving. With VFib you don't have any blood moving because the entire heart is spasming like this and no blood is going in or out really at all. According to the 2017 HAACC HRS Guideline for Management of Patients in Ventricular Arrhythmias and Sudden Cardiac Death, both ventricular tachycardia and ventricular fibrillation can be fixed with cardiac stabilizing medications such as amiodarone and 360 joules of electricity, as in defibrillation. Clear? And with that, now you know a little bit about how the heart works, its electricity, some of its backups, and what can go wrong. I hope you can appreciate how hard the heart works for you.